everyone, and welcome back to the next session. I hope you all enjoyed the last session. We're going to get started quite swiftly this session, where we will be discussing women's health is global health and seizing market opportunities in period care, incontinence, and sexual well-being. So just a quick reminder to people that are joining the session for the first time or joining us again, we encourage as many questions as possible or any comments that you'd like to make to our panelists we have with us here today. To do that, please pop any questions or comment in the live discussion box that you can find at the bottom right hand side of your screen. That's enough from me, so I'm going to hand over quite swiftly to our moderator today. Our moderator we have is Dr. Mary Gunn, who is the COO of Health Decisions. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I am Dr. Mary Gunn, the Chief Operating Officer for Health Decisions. We are a contract research organization that specializes in women's health research. I'm excited to lead today's discussion on establishing a successful women's health brand. And I'm very honored to be joined today by Gloria Kolb, who is the co-founder and CEO of Elidah, Daniella Peri, who is the CEO of Yoppie, Arion, who is the founder and CEO of Femly, and Frances Tang, who is the founder of Awkward Essentials. So I would like to kick off for today's discussion with a question towards Gloria, if you can help it get us started. What women's health problem or challenge are you trying to solve?
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. It all started, I think, when I had my 3 kids. I had a 9.5-pound baby girl, and then I had 13 pounds of twins. And I noticed that I started to leak when I sneezed, when I coughed, and it is really a common problem. 1 out of 3 women have incontinence, but not a lot of people talk about it, and so I didn't realize how common it was. But like most women, I started off just wearing pads. It solves the temporary problem, but it's it just covers up symptoms. And as it started to progress, I started to look for solutions. For when I went to a physical therapist, and that's pelvic floor physical therapy helps, and she taught me how to do Kegel exercises. And I didn't realize that a quarter of women do these Kegel exercises incorrectly. It's very invasive. And then I was looking at what else I can do to keep it going besides just Kegels, because Kegels doesn't work for many women. And there were a lot of vaginal devices on the market. There really is a big gap between doing Kegels and the surgery on the other end. And there's not a lot in between, but there were vaginal devices. The problem with those is that some give you biofeedback and some actually do the Kegels for you, but they all require you to take time out of your day, 20 minutes out of your day, lock yourself in the bedroom, be flat on your back. And I just didn't have a lot of time for that. So our device that we've had developed over the last 5 years is called Elidah, and it is a wearable device that actually I'll just show it right here. It's very flexible, super thin. You just place it on your perineal area like you would a pad, and a tiny controller just sends stimulation to help do those Kegel exercises, those contract those pelvic floor muscles for you. So in a 20-minute period, you get 100 Kegel contractions. But the nice thing is you could put on your clothes and walk around, do whatever you need to do while you're getting treatment at home and doing other things. And so we got FDA approval and launched about a little over a year ago. And so far, we've been selling online and in other channels. So thank you.
Well, I can certainly empathize with that. I had to do Kegels myself, and I have to admit, I gave up very quickly. It's not very intuitive, right? Well, I mean, that's a great solution to an unmet need. Can I ask you, Daniella, to talk about a problem that you were solving for when you came up with Yoppie?
Yes. So quick background by myself. So I'm founder and CEO of Yoppie. So I think like all entrepreneurs and similar to Gloria's journey, it all started with a seed of an idea of a problem that I was experienced. So when I realized that I never had good quality period products at home, yet my period came on a monthly basis. So I thought this must be the best product for a subscription business, but also when the half of the global population has periods. Also back then in 2016, when I founded Yoppie, the majority of the products used by the mass market was very much filled with harmful chemicals, unhealthy ingredients like plastics, which we are known for like hurting both our bodies and the planet. So I've developed our first ever product, which was an 100% organic cotton tampon, designed in mixed SKU boxes because I wanted to make it easy for women to kind of use the assortment based on her flow, as the menstrual flow tends to vary throughout the period. I coded my own website and then just started building the brand and selling the product online. And today we are more of a technology company. So our mission is to put women's menstrual health into women's hands by combining physical products with technology. So kind of a modern way of managing your menstrual health. So we are born online. We are a direct-to-consumer distribution model. I think we're kind of reinventing the period care category, I would say, because we don't believe in one size fits all. At Yoppie, we very much focus on the whole menstrual cycle and menstrual health as a whole. So what does this mean? Our product assortment, firstly, compared to our competitors, is quite different. We combine physical products, but also products that doesn't only fit the 7 days of the cycle that we tend to refer as menstruation. Instead, we want to empower women to take control of the whole cycle and the whole menstrual health in all stages of the cycle. So that's us.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, that's, I don't know if any of the other panelists want to pitch in, because I think Arion, your company also tries to tackle some menstrual health issues as well. Am I correct?
You are. We and it's Arion.
Oh, Arion, sorry.
No worries, no worries. We actually believe in holistically providing products for the entire life cycle. So we have innovative tech solutions for the pipeline from periods to pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. We launched with period care, but we're actively moving into pregnancy right now. And we really believe that you don't have to operate in silos. Traditionally, femtech companies and women-focused health companies tend to attack issues from a standpoint that, like, okay, we're addressing only the period, we're addressing only incontinence. And we know that most women will go through many of these stages. So we kind of want to be the company that holds your hand.
Well, that sounds very nice, hand-holding. and it also helps us to feel a little bit less alone in some of these issues that we face, right? Now, Frances, I know that your company looks at the challenges that women face from yet another different perspective. Can you tell us a little bit about what problem you're solving for?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. I'm Frances, the founder and CEO of Awkward Essentials and the inventor of the drip stick. So like many of us here, to what Daniella just said, I had a personal problem and couldn't find a solution. And that personal problem was cleaning up after sex. Many of us are familiar with that crazy like after sex ninja roll thing off the bed and sitting over the toilet and wiping and waiting for everything to drip out. And for me personally, just that gushing and washing the sheets and washing my underwear and everything that happened the next day and beyond, I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable for me. And every time I would look for a solution online, there was information about using like wipes and like sacrificial towels and t-shirts and stuff like that. But I thought that is really for the outside. And for me, it was an internal issue. That stuff is like up in there and there was no way to get it out. So what I did was took inspiration from a baking spatula, from like a rubber baking spatula. When you, I love baking, and this is gonna carry back, I promise. I love baking, and every time I would use a rubber baking spatula to get batter out of a bowl, I would think, wow, it would be great if I could have a spatula for my vagina to help get everything out after sex, which that is not what dripstick is. Dripstick is actually a medical grade sponge that has no additives and it just absorbs everything after sex. So you're not left dripping and leaking with that smell and just that uncomfortable feeling. And so a dripstick is our first product, and our goal is to continue creating innovative solutions for those really sticky, gooey, awkward problems that people don't like to talk about.
That is absolutely amazing. It is absolutely amazing to hear that all of you have really taken action in your hands to a problem that you experience, that you know other women experience as well, and move forward to actually starting a business and running a producing a solution. And I know that many of us experience problems, but we don't then go to that next step of then finding a solution for ourselves and other women and then starting a business. So I guess my next question to the panel is, how in the world did you get started? Could any of you, does anyone of you want to kick off on that one? I know it's a tough question.
So I was at work having tough periods. I was working in marketing communications, and I literally would have to text my boss and say, like, look, I need you to get me another office chair. Out of that, we realized, just like Daniella, that, period care is really one of the few industries that it makes sense to have a subscription cycle. And we launched on the heels of Dollar Shave Club, which was acquired for $1 billion. So we figured if men could have $1 billion acquisition for razors that they can opt out of, why not start a subscription product for products that women cannot opt out of? And then the really cool thing about it was that we not only went on to do that and amass, millions in revenue, we were able to pivot and manufacture with a sustainable and social impact driven buy one, give one model. So Femly was really birthed out of our desire to not only profit people and planet and the women who could afford our products, but also those who can't. So every time somebody purchases, we donate a box to people in need. And then we also stock organizations around the country with our organic cotton period care in their restrooms.
That is a fascinating start. And I want to ask a follow-up question on that. How did you go from starting small, obviously, to scaling up? Like that stage between small and scaling up?
Sure. Like many entrepreneurs, I actually just doubled down on my expenses. I moved back home with 12 family members, 2 dogs, a cat, and a duck. I switched out my vehicle. My husband and I were like cramped into 1 bedroom, but we had, lower expenses because we were living with my family. And I literally decided to use every other paycheck. When you're starting, you have to be lean. And with funding disparities, with women and Black women like myself who get 0.06 it was very important for me to figure out how to bootstrap. And one of the ways we did that was not only through doubling down on expenses, but then also entering pitch competitions. To date, we've won about 37, many of them in a row, and about $645,000 in funding. And that was able to kind of get us where we needed to go. And that in conjunction with also writing down goals every week and making sure that like every week we are doing 3 to 5 things that directly support our user design on the website, that directly support fulfillment and getting this product into people's hands in 1 to 3 days, and then doing things that directly support our impact and our vision. I think one of the beautiful things about us waiting so long to take on venture capital was not only the fact that we are doing it on our terms, but also the fact that, you know, we have more traction and we were able to kind of make those mistakes earlier on without being indebted to other people.
That is very impressive to get started and then remain independent. I'd like to hear from the other panelists, actually. How did you guys get started and remain independent, or do you want to remain independent?
I could jump in. So getting started was really just starting in the evenings in our basement. We had to be creative. So, you know, the first designs of the gel pad was just handcrafted and hand cut. And then we moved on to you know, taking from the craft industry and getting one of those craft cutters. And then, you know, until you can build enough, you know, better and better prototypes, then we were able to go for some grant funding, and the grant funding saved us.
Daniella, Francis?
Yeah, I can jump in. So we were self-funded for the first 12 months when we kind of tried the idea out. We built our own website. We started selling and shifting boxes online and kind of seeing the appetite. So very kind of a lean approach to starting it, to see like, would even customers, women, be interested in buying tampons online, which they were, which then gave me confidence to kind of continue. I've then did a small family and friends round. So I went to my close friends, close family, and asked for some capital, which also then, you know, when you're doing your first kind of external investment round, you need to prepare a business plan. You need to write up a beautiful pitch deck, which back then, if I look at it now, is probably something I'm very shameful of. But it's about, you know, coming back to your question, like, how do you start? You just need to do it. Like, first time is the best time ever to do things. And from there, you learn, you become better. And from that family and friends round, we invested in a broader category. So we developed pads and liners, made the user experience better. And then in 2019, I got the opportunity to actually meet a proper VC. And that was when I was already close to giving up, because I was pregnant and very, very sick during my pregnancy. So I was kind of fed up of like shifting boxes online from my kitchen table. I've been doing it all by myself for like the past 3 years. But you know, he believed in me. He believed in my vision. He believed in the fact that, you know, if you do it right, if you do it this way, and he gave me the funding, which now we are working towards, and it's super exciting. And I think it's, you know, I've never back in 2016 would have thought or dreamt about, you know, getting investment or how long can I take this idea, echoing Arion, that you know, day by day, week by week, you just need to commit to one thing at least. If that's, you know, writing a blog post or making a slogan or decide on your brand colors. I mean, that is huge steps and like milestones, and never give up.
Yeah, it sounds like being focused is a common theme, and then eventually having that breakthrough. Francis, there's actually a question from the audience that I think would be good if you could help address, because I think you might have talked about this a little bit when we were doing the paneling before. Did you face any knockbacks when raising capital for your business? And how did you bounce back from those?
I did. It's not easy. It's kind of what they say, if you don't have to, and you can prove out your idea and build a strong foundation prior to fundraising, it's always easier. So I wanted to raise capital because I knew I wanted to move quickly. So once I was able to prove that I had a market and I saw customers and repeat customers, my goal was to move quickly and scale and grow, which is what fueled my decision to go raise in the first place. I was told to do friends and family, but I didn't know anyone, and I went straight to institutional, which would recommend friends and family first, but you do what you can. So the way that I did it was I looked up companies that were in similar categories to myself. So feminine hygiene, or with really weird, cheeky, loud branding, just that had parallels to my current company. And then I looked at who invested in them at that seed stage. And that was kind of how I made my initial hit list. And then I used LinkedIn to see if I could find any mutual contacts that I could ask for an introduction. And then after I solicited all the people that I could find an introduction for, I started sending out cold emails. And so our current VC is from a cold email that I sent, in which I just said, like, hey, you guys invest in Tushy, they're pretty weird, we're kind of weird, like, here's some stats, do you want to chat? And we're a very good fit. And so from there, that's how we did it. But most of the challenges that you do hear about raising in the sexual wellness, feminine hygiene space, we encountered a lot of those. So whether it was people not understanding the product, not understanding that there's a market, women make up more than 50% of the population. We hit all those roadblocks, and you just kind of keep going. It can be rough, but you just keep going and you find a way.
Yeah, I would echo everything you're saying because it's so true to like my journey too. But it's a numbers game. You need to meet a lot of people, and it's like dating. Like, you will meet douchebags, you will meet people who doesn't understand the proposition, you will meet people who love it, and those are the things. And I think in principle, like, you should take money from the people you kind of want to marry or like be in bed with, because it's like, you want to have an investor who believes in you as a founder, who believes in your vision, and not just purely see as like a financial thing. You want to tap into the network, and you want to tap into, like, you want to get their help. So it is an art of science to fundraise. But I think also coming back to how you can bounce back, I think it's super, super important to create a support network around you. So like, I normally create a WhatsApp group with my best close friends I know are in the same kind of entrepreneurial space. And we create a WhatsApp group, and it's like, okay, I'm out fundraising, I need your full support. And they are just a phone call away for those moments you actually need to kind of be kind of bouncing back.
To kind of echo what Daniella said, it's like more than marriage. It's like a baby daddy, and you like can't you can't get rid of them. Like, they own part of your child. So like you can get a divorce in a marriage, right? So I think it's like you have to think very carefully if you want this investor to like be your baby daddy. And then in terms of finding a support network and a support group, I think early on, a lot of founders, what they'll hear from their personal network is reasons why your business won't work in an attempt to like protect you, right? So you come to your friends, you have an idea and you tell them, and they say, oh, but this exists, or why don't you do this? And it's always with good intentions, but being very intentional about finding the people who will like lift you up and tell you why it will work and support you and help you to find those resources.
So very quickly, I'll drop one tip. I met Frances at a time where I wasn't even sure if like we were going to take on venture capital. In fact, we met because her investors reached out to me, and we were like, holy cow, Frances exists. Like, anywho, our technique for fundraising, and getting this round committed was very different. I literally just said, what are white guys doing? I want to do whatever the hell they're doing to make it quick and easy and painless. So I've had maybe 5 Zoom calls, but what we did was we found that one baby daddy or one lead, and we had our lead pitch other investors for us. I had no interest in being on Zoom. I did not want to hear that it was a numbers game. If you can't tell, I'm Black, so I already knew that it would be an uphill battle. And we basically figured out the way to best make it work for us. So to date, if we want introductions or want to have a pitch meeting, I am the person that gets on the call at the very end when we're figuring out where to send your money. But our lead is the one who is actually, knows the business in and out, just like I do, and has the privilege and the backing to make a little bit more noise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh my goodness. And this really goes right along to the next theme about staying alive, right? And striking that balance between staying alive and partnering. One of the audience has a question, for the panel. If you see value in partnering, right, sharing the baby with a large traditional FMCG company in this space, and how do you see those types of partnerships evolving?
I'm not muted, sorry. I mean, long term, maybe, but I would say no, because that's why I kind of started Yoppie, because I was kind of fed up on the larger FMCG brands. Like, how come they have this great opportunity? They had this kind of established relationship with the mass market, and yet I went into periods knowing nothing about it. I went into kind of next reproductive age, about fertility, didn't know anything about that. So I think, in my view, they failed us, and they failed what they could have done for both women's health, but particularly in my space, like menstrual health. Living in 2021 and periods and stigma and girls hiding their tampons, that is not, it's reality. So to me, I want to echoing Arion, that I want to be proud, and I'm going to be confident. I'm going to make sure I also can get those big checks that can give me the runway I need to test and try and kind of build a bigger company. So from me, I'm passing on that one.
That's in a way of a big privilege, right? I mean, because along the themes of staying alive, right? One of the questions from the audience is, okay, to stay alive, what was that one initial bet that you made in terms of with your money, the initial investment that you made at the beginning of your journey that has really paid off for you in the long run? And I think, Gloria, you were about to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to answer the previous question, which I was just going to say, there's definitely value in working with the large companies in terms of reach, because there's only so fast we can scale. However, they will want to see you like a mile down the road than probably where you are. They're not very risk. They don't really take a lot of risk, so they want to see you much further along with millions of dollars of revenue already, in lots of cases,
or something that they don't have, a community, for example, or
I can answer the risk question. So Dripstick, this after sex cleanup sponge, isn't something that previously existed in the world. And so when I was talking about it, pitching it, I did a really small accelerator in Los Angeles. Nobody knew what I was talking about. People thought I was talking about a wipe or like some kind of suction machine that like sucks everything out of your vagina. Like their imagination just went all over the place. And traditionally in creating a startup, you would prove that you have a market first before like physically getting the product made. Because if you get the product made and nobody wants it, then all your cash is gone, your savings are gone. And so I did all these things like trying to talk to people, creating landing pages, but I just couldn't get people to understand what it was, because I'm trying to shift the way we're normally doing things. So I did take that risk. And order product, and I ordered 20,000 units, which was like the minimum amount that I could order. And it was terrifying. But because this product is something that is new, or it's like an invention, I had a strong gut feeling that once people saw it, like they physically saw it in their hand, they would understand how it worked and it would click. And so that paid off, because from there I was able to list them for sale, put them together on a really ugly website that I created that looked like a blog from the 90s, and see and prove that I had a market by getting sales, because that's like the best affirmation that you have a business and that your idea, people want what you're selling, is if they're willing to put your credit card down.
So your bet was on that there's a market, and that's where you invested.
Yeah, like actually ordering the physical product, which is typically not advised.
I have a similar story to Frances. We also, I'm from Stockholm, and as we know, Stockholm is kind of the unicorn city now. Like a very lot of innovation happens here, and we have great ways of accessing very small, like startup capital loans, where you don't end up being kind of personal reliable for the loan. You just need to pay back 10%. So I remember we took £20,000, which end up, again, as Frances, we took the bet on the product, because we didn't kind of a tampon. Women, our friends had seen tampons before. We just changed ingredients in them. And we bought 300,000 units, the minimum order quantity, developed a box and a scrappy website, and started selling. And it kind of, that gave you confidence that, I think it's, for some people that are very like realistic, or, they might, do a market research or write an in-depth business plan. And for me, I rather see kind of the website, the product. I want to look and feel and touch the product. So that first capital for us was for sure kind of the best investment so far.
So for us, we launched, and 5 days later, won $125,000 in a pitch competition for our initial extended startup capital. I had the wherewithal to reach out to one of the first 3 employees at Dollar Shave Club so that he could help me set up all of my structure and streamline my fulfillment, which was in my grandma's basement with 6 siblings. We also had the wherewithal to look at some of these deep insights, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't, in the beginning, it's like, you don't know what to put money into. You need marketing, you need operations, you need fulfillment, you need team. But we realized that we had a cultural leg up when it came to our product. 90% of the demographic that we serve does not use tampons. So we knew very quickly that we don't even need to think about that. In fact, that segment in the US is actually getting smaller day by day. But we used those insights. We used anything that could add to the subscription model. So we were shipping body care and face scrubs and all these things to make your period awesome. And then we also used the capacity of going for the lowest hanging fruit first. So that was always going to be the products that we could get women to come back for, but that they would need throughout, their life cycle. And then from there, we would have the capital from revenue to innovate.
Wow, so that really touches on market segmentation and really identifying what we mean when we say women, right? Because it's not just women. Are there challenges associated with marketing to women?
Man, we actually, we're super inclusive. One of our first customers is a trans male who came up to me in an event, and I'm like, oh my God, in my head, I'm like, oh, he's buying these for his girlfriend. And he's like, no, thank you for making this. I started transitioning years ago, and I never felt comfortable with my beard walking into this aisle in, the new me. So thank you, because they're not super pink. They're not super frilly. They come to me, they're discreet, and it's everything I need and hope for. Outside of that, it's just for us, not feeling the need to please everybody. It's like you'll have people who will attack you for being you. I remember taking a selfie and putting it on Instagram and losing followers because people didn't believe that a Black woman was behind it. Additionally, there's so many different challenges that come, but I know that Frances has, I'm here, girl.
Thanks, Arion. It's yeah, we face a lot of challenges because sex and the after part is just so, people just don't talk about, right? Like sex itself, the pleasure part is already so taboo, and we're almost going like beyond the pleasure part, like the not fun sex stuff. And so because people don't talk about it, there's this like lack of education just around the female body in general. And we get a lot of comments from women about like, oh, like you should just like pee it out. And we're like, yeah, you should pee, but it's a different hole, or like just all kinds of unusual things. And it's hard because they are our target market, and we do our best to educate. But I think with the rise in social media and the internet and snap judgments and not thoroughly reading information, it gets really tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gloria, it seems that your product addresses a very specific segment of women. Can you talk a little bit more about how you decided on the segment and your marketing and the challenges?
So I think that is a challenge. It's not a very specific segment of women. I know that many people think, oh, incontinence is for old people, but our customers are from 20 to 95, right? And it's not just maybe, at first we're targeting more the wealthier women that can pay the higher price, but it's not. It's whoever is most bothered by their incontinence is looking for a solution. Whoever's incontinence is a little bit more severe, that they know that they need to go beyond just wearing pads. So that's been very difficult to know. How do you talk to the postpartum moms and a little bit more senior women and make it a product that is understandable and attractive to the various demographics and the different groups. The other thing about targeting women as opposed to men is I think women are very savvy shoppers. And so they, we have been told that before they bought our product, they visited every single, page on our website because they just want to soak in all the information. And that's great. And for those that don't want all the information, they can skip it. So we try to make our website so that all the information is there. You can scan it and skip over things that don't apply to you. And the other thing I would say is I do think that women want to identify with a brand, and they want to feel good about the company that they're doing business with, and like what the company is doing it more so than men, I believe.
Oh, that's absolutely a very nuanced observation, I think, because some of these things that we're trying to address are very personal issues, right? And it's certainly not a part of the broader education system. And it's interesting to hear all of you talk about education as a part of marketing and branding. Can you give a little bit more flavor to that, informing the consumer to create a market?
Yeah, so, whether it's menopause or any of these taboo subjects, there's just not a lot out there. So you do want to provide all the information without being condescending to women, and you do want to provide it without making it sound like they're alone. So you want to definitely be inclusive, but otherwise it's just kind of sticking your ground what your brand's about, and then making sure you carry that through.
Oh, and we have a comment from the audience, love the comment that not all women have periods and not all people who have periods are women. So we have a shout out from the audience on inclusivity being important. And I think that's something that resonates with all four of your companies in terms of your approach. I think we're coming up on time. We have about 5 minutes, and I would like to do a quick fire round with the panelists. about the final bit about staying alive, what would your advice be to the audience? One or two things that help your company stay alive so far.
I'll jump in. So definitely try to use all the resources that you can, and resources mean other founders, like I have so many stories of talking with other founders, and they reviewed my business plan and I reviewed their business plan, and helping each other in that way, finding grants, and I want to talk about, we didn't really get too much about the fundraising. It is super, super difficult. I wanted to let everyone know that there's a TED Talk by Dana Kantz, and she talks about why female entrepreneurs get less funding, and it's kind of the way you pitch, the way you answer questions. So I just recommend that.
Okay, thanks for the tip. Others?
I'll go. My 3 things would be, don't be scared to hop on LinkedIn and find people who are smarter than you. They're always going to be an asset. Make it easy as hell for people to help you. Like, the worst thing in the world is reaching out to somebody and not having your crap together. So make sure all your documentation, your deck, business plan, go to market, your metrics, make sure everything is together. And then 3, know your market. Like, go for what you can get very easily, and know that all money is not good money. Just because an investor is reaching out to you or someone is reaching out to you, it is on you to do your due diligence, and that you are the prize. They're not the prize that they're investing. You're the prize, because if they invest and you take them on, you're inviting them to your gravy train. So like, one of the things that I did when a certain investor reached out to me was, I reached out to Francis and said, hey, I want to know what your relationship with them is like. Are they great? Are they not? Would you recommend them? Would you not? And that single decision has saved me so much headache from taking bad money from investors who might be on Twitter and look great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, very, very great tips. Thank you. Francis?
I'd say take advice with a grain of salt. I spent a lot of time getting advice and it was incredible, but nobody knows the intricacies of your business like you do. Nobody knows your journey. Nobody knows exactly what you've tried or what the market has said. So just qualify your advice. Like, someone who is trying to give you advice might not know the intricacies fully of like the feminine healthcare industry. So just be very careful. And know that you can be yourself with your brand. Like, you should lean into your personality and use that as a basis for building your brand, because your brand is you are your brand, you are the founder, and it's okay if it's unlike the other companies out there because it's unique.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Daniella, advice for the audience?
My advice would be focus on the things that makes matter and make sense. Then you can't do everything at the same time. Some things needs to come first and the other things later on. And then as a founder, make sure to always hire better people than yourself, like have a low ego and, invite people that could, are much, much better than you, and you learn from them day by day, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really great wisdom. Thank you all so much. We're coming up on time, and we did get a chance to address all the audience's questions. So I want to conclude this panel by saying a big thank you to the panelists, to the audience, and to the LSX leader team that coordinated the Healthspan Show. Thank you so much for all the insights that you shared today, the panelists. It's an honor to speak with you and learn from your success. At Health Decisions, we're excited to see the growing number of women-led businesses solving women's health issues, and we hope that today's attendees found the discussion interesting. Should you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to connect with any of today's speakers following the event. Last but not least, thank you to the LSX leadership team for coordinating the show. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for that great moderation, and thank you to all our panelists for joining us today to share the thoughts. As Mary said, you can continue the conversation on the platform, so feel free to reach out to Mary or any of our panelists if you have any other questions. So thank you all for joining us. So we do have another panel coming up in just over 15 minutes. This is looking at a bit more of the broader Healthspan focus, which is going to be covering how to build a consumer microbiome business. So we'll look forward to seeing you again shortly. Thank you. Bye.